Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're locking our focus onto a brand new player shaking up the motorcycle scene, the BMW G310RR.
That's right. A really interesting one.
And you, keeping an eye on the latest developments, know how fast things move. Wading through all the specs, the opinions, it can eat up your time.
Oh, definitely.
So think of this as your express lane to being in the know. We've plunged into a detailed review, pulling out everything from the nitty-gritty of its engine and features to how it fares against the competition.
Exactly. We've got a really comprehensive set of information here. It covers the bike's design, how comfortable it is to ride, those head-to-head comparisons with key rivals like the KTM RC 390 and Kawasaki Ninja 400.
Even big ones?
Yeah, and a clear breakdown of what it does well, where it might, fall short. And we're even tackling those burning questions you might have.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty straightforward. Distill the crucial insights and really grasp what makes this BMW G310RR a noteworthy contender stepping into that entry-level sport bike arena. All right, let's dive straight in. What's the big picture here? What's the essence of this new BMW?
At its core, the G310RR is, well, it's aiming to redefine what we expect from an entry-level supersport. BMW is positioning it as a machine that delivers a genuine sporty experience without, let's say, demanding a huge financial outlay.
Okay.
And the heart of this bike is a 313cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine.
That single-cylinder setup is interesting in this kind of sporty category. What kind of punch does it actually pack?
Well, it delivers 34 horsepower at 9,700 RPM with a torque figure of 27.5 newton-meter coming in at 7,500 RPM.
Right.
It's coupled with a slick shifting 6-speed manual transmission. And like you said, the liquid cooling is crucial for keeping that performance consistent, especially if you're pushing it or, stuck in traffic.
So it's engineered to stay composed, even when things heat up. Good. Now, the underpinnings, they're always key for that sport bike feel. What's the chassis and suspension story?
It's built around a tubular steel frame, pretty common but effective in this class. Offers a good balance of rigidity for handling and helps keep the weight down.
Makes sense.
And the front end features an upside-down telescopic fork. Think of it as the beefier, more performance-oriented type of front suspension. Helps keep things stable when you're braking hard or really leaning into corners.
Okay.
Then at the rear, there's a monoshock, but it has adjustable preload.
Ah, that adjustability is a nice touch on an entry-level bike.
It really is. It allows you to fine-tune the suspension based on, say, whether you're riding solo, carrying a passenger, or maybe you just prefer a firmer or softer ride. It gives you options.
Yeah, a degree of customization you don't always see there. Okay, what about bringing things to a halt? Brakes?
For braking, the G310RR uses a single 300mm disc up front, and it's paired with a radially mounted 4-piston caliper.
Radial caliper, explain that quickly.
Right, so a radial caliper essentially means it's bolted on in a way that provides more direct, more consistent braking force. A bit more high spec.
Gotcha.
And at the rear, there's a single 240mm disc with a single piston caliper.
Yeah.
Crucially, though, it comes standard with dual-channel ABS.
Oh, standard ABS. That's huge.
Yeah, a significant safety net, especially, for newer riders or just in tricky conditions.
Absolutely. ABS has become pretty essential, hasn't it? Now, let's get into the details, the size, the weight. What are the vital stats on this machine?
Okay, so the wheelbase, which impacts stability and turning, is 370 millimeters. The seat height is a fairly accessible 785 millimeters, should suit a good range of riders.
Not too intimidating, then.
No, he's quite manageable. The wet weight, so that's with all fluids, is 170 kilograms. And the fuel tank holds a decent 12 liters.
And top speed, people always want to know.
Yeah, fair enough. You're looking at a top speed somewhere around 140 kilometers per hour, maybe a bit more. So what's that, about 87 miles per hour?
Okay, so definitely enough for spirited riding within legal limits, but not setting landscape records. And I understand it comes with different riding modes as standard.
Yes, that's right. It features standard rain and road riding modes. And these aren't just like labels. They actually alter the bike's character.
How so?
They adjust the throttle response and also the level at which the traction control kicks in. So rain mode softens things up. Road mode gives you full power. It's about adaptability, really. Good for different conditions or, if you're still building confidence.
Right. Helps tailor the experience. Okay, that gives us a solid overview of the fundamentals. Now, let's dig into those features that really make the G310RR stand out the bits that might give you a genuine aha moment without getting lost in tech speak. What's really noteworthy here?
Well, I think what's fascinating is the level of tech BMW has packed into what is, their entry-level sport bike. That full-color TFT display is a prime example.
TFT, okay.
Yeah.
Not just basic clocks then.
Not at all. It's a crisp, visually engaging screen, pretty intuitive controls, shows all your essential speed, RPM, fuel, gear position. But, and this is the kicker, it goes a step further with Bluetooth connectivity.
Bluetooth. Seriously, on an entry-level sport bike, that's unexpected. What does that actually let you do?
So, using the BMW Motorrad app on your phone, you can get turn-by-turn navigation prompts right there on the TFT screen.
Wow.
You can manage incoming calls, control your music playlist. It's a level of seamless integration you'd normally expect on much pricier bikes.
Yeah, that's a pretty premium feature for this segment. Definitely stand out. What else?
Those rain and road riding modes we mentioned, they're actually quite significant. In rain mode, the throttle response is noticeably softer. Makes the bike less abrupt, more forgiving. Really good if the grip isn't great or you're just getting used to it.
Makes sense for slippery conditions or learning.
Exactly. Then switch to road mode, and it unleashes the full engine potential for a much more engaging and dynamic ride, so that adaptability caters to different situations and skill levels.
So it provides confidence, but also lets riders grow with the bike. I like that.
Precisely. Then there's the braking system we touched on. Dual-channel ABS is standard, which is great. But also, that radial 4-piston caliper on the front disc, that's a pretty high-performance component for this class. It delivers strong, consistent stopping power.
Enhanced safety and stopping power. Good combo. What about how it handles? The review mentioned it felt lightweight and agile.
Yeah, that tubular steel frame and the compact engine design help keep the wet weight down to just 170 kilograms. And that lightness, well, it translates directly into nimble handling. Makes it a breeze to maneuver through city traffic.
Okay, easy in town.
And it also makes it a lot of fun on twisty roads. The bike feels like it responds readily to your input, easy to lean, easy to flick through corners.
So user-friendly day-to-day, but still engaging when you want some fun. And that suspension setup, particularly the upside-down front fork.
Right, the USD fork isn't just for looks, although it definitely adds to that sporty aesthetic. By having the thicker tubes higher up, it reduces what's called unsprung weight,
Which means?
which leads to more responsive, more controlled handling, especially over bumps or during hard braking. It just feels more planted. And like we said, that adjustable preload on the rear monoshock lets you fine-tune the back end for comfort and handling based on your weight or style.
So form-following function for a better feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the aerodynamic fairing just for looks, or does it actually do something?
Well, it absolutely contributes to the bike's aggressive modern look, no doubt.
Hmm.
But it also serves a real function. By shaping the airflow around you, it helps reduce wind resistance, which you notice more at higher speeds.
Right.
And it offers a degree of wind protection, too. Reduces that wind blast hitting your body, makes longer rides less tiring.
Okay, so not just about looking fast, helps with fatigue, too. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the engine itself? Beyond the horsepower number, what's his character like?
The 313cc single is engineered to be responsive, give you usable power where you need it for typical riding. It offers smooth acceleration, easy to get up to speed, and a key thing here is the counterbalancer shaft.
Ah, to reduce vibration? Exactly. It significantly cuts down vibrations, which can be a common issue with single-cylinder engines.
Mm-hmm.
Leads to a more comfortable, more refined ride, especially on longer trips.
Yeah.
Nobody wants buzzing hands after half an hour.
Definitely not. Minimizing vibration is a huge plus for comfort. And lastly, on the standout features, the review mentioned premium build quality. Is that something you can actually feel on an entry-level bike?
I think so, yeah. That's kind of a BMW hallmark, isn't it? Even on this more accessible model, there seems to be a clear attention to detail. The quality of the materials, the way things fit together, the overall finish. It gives it a more substantial, more refined feel compared to some competitors in the same price bracket.
Right.
It's about getting that feeling of a well-engineered, well-built machine, even at this level.
Okay, so it sounds like BMW really focused on bringing a lot of those higher-end features and that signature premium feel down to this more attainable model. Let's switch focus now to design and comfort. We know it looks like a sport bike, but what's it actually like to live with day to day?
Well, the design clearly takes cues from BMW's bigger sport bikes, the S1000RR, for example. It has that sleek, aggressive silhouette, sharp lines. Very much the look people expect.
Yeah, fits the family look.
Definitely. The aerodynamic fairing is key to that Supersport aesthetic.
Yeah.
And the full LED lighting headlight, taillight, it's not just for safety and visibility. It really adds to that modern premium look. Plus, you've got those racing-inspired color options like the Black Storm Metallic or the light white with the blue and red accents. Lets you personalize it a bit.
It certainly sounds like it has the visual appeal sport bike fans look for. But what about when you actually swing a leg over? Is it all super aggressive, track day posture?
Surprisingly, no. I
Mm.
mean, it does have a slightly forward-leaning riding posture, which is typical for sport bikes, helps with aerodynamics, control at speed.
Right.
But it's not overly aggressive. BMW seems to have found a decent balance. It should be reasonably comfortable for a wider range of riders, not just track addicts.
That's good news for everyday usability.
And the seat height, 785 millimeters, is pretty accommodating. Plus, the seat itself is apparently quite narrow where it meets the tank, making it easier for riders to get their feet down flat when stopped. Always good for confidence.
Yeah, that lower seat height and less extreme posture definitely help with accessibility. What about protection from the wind and rain when you're riding?
Well, the fairing and the small windscreen do provide a noticeable bit of wind deflection, enough to reduce the direct blast on your chest and head, especially at highway speeds. Helps cut down fatigue.
Okay.
It's not going to be like a full touring bike, obviously, but it seems like a decent balance for a sport bike in this class.
Manageable for longer rides then, without getting totally beaten up by the wind.
Yeah, and the suspension system also plays a big part in overall comfort. Those upside-down forks apparently do a good job soaking up bumps, giving a planted feel,
Hmm.
and the adjustable rear shock lets you tweak the ride quality.
And the engine vibration we talked about?
Right, the counterbalancer minimizing those vibrations is a major factor for comfort, especially on longer stretches. A smooth engine makes a big difference.
Smooth engine, decent wind protection, a sporty but not punishing riding position. Sounds like they considered the practical side, too.
Absolutely. For Supersport, it seems to offer a surprising bit of practicality. That 12-liter fuel tank gives you reasonable range for commuting or weekend blasts. And its fairly compact size makes it easy to handle in traffic, easy to park. It looks like a well-considered blend.
Okay, it's ticking a lot of boxes, but let's get to the elephant in the room, the competition. This entry-level sport bike market is packed. How does the G310RR stack up against big names like the KTM RC390 and the Kawasaki Ninja 400?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? These are two very strong competitors. Let's start with the KTM RC390. Engine-wise, the RC390 has a bigger 373cc engine, puts out around 43 horsepower.
Okay, so more power than the BMW's 34 HP.
Yep, a noticeable bump. So if your main focus is just pure acceleration, top-end speed, the KTM definitely has an edge there on paper.
More outright grunt for those who prioritize that. But the review also mentioned differences in how that power feels, right?
Exactly. While KTM offers more aggressive performance up top, the G310RR is described as having a smoother, more refined power delivery right through the rev range.
So maybe less thrilling, but easier to manage?
Potentially, yeah. Might feel less raw, but could translate to a more predictable, user-friendly experience, especially for riders newer to sport bikes. And styling-wise, they're quite different too. The BMW is maybe more mature, sophisticated. The KTM is very aggressive, very track-inspired. Really depends on your personal taste.
Right, a different vibe. What about the tech and features head-to-head?
Here, the G310RR definitely scores points with that full-color TFT display and the Bluetooth connectivity. The KTM RC390 still uses an LCD display, no Bluetooth.
Ah, so BMW wins on the dash tech.
Looks like it. However, the RC390 does have a slipper clutch, which helps smooth out downshifts, and it has a Supermoto ABS mode, which lets you lock the rear wheel if you want. Those aren't on the BMW.
Interesting trade-offs there. Slipper clutch is nice.
It is. And then there's rider comfort for everyday use. The G310RR's slightly more upright position probably makes it better suited for commuting and longer rides compared to the KTM's more committed, track-focused ergonomics.
So BMW leaning towards modern tech and everyday comfort, while the KTM is more about raw performance and track features. Okay, how about the comparison with the super popular Kawasaki Ninja 400?
Right, the Ninja 400. It's powered by a 399cc parallel twin engine, making around 45 horsepower. So again, more peak power than the G310RR.
Another one with more horses.
Yep. However, the review suggests the G310RR's single-cylinder engine, thanks to that counterbalancer, offers a smoother ride with less vibration, especially at higher RPMs, compared to the Ninja's twin, which can apparently feel a bit buzzy sometimes.
Ah, so the BMW might feel more refined, even with less power.
That seems to be the suggestion. For riders who value that smooth engine feel, it could be a deciding factor.
Less vibration is definitely good, especially on longer rides. What about handling and weight between those two?
The Ninja 400 is actually slightly lighter, around 168 kilograms compared to the BMW's 170 kilograms. Might give the Ninja a tiny edge in really tight, slow stuff.
Marginal difference, though.
Very marginal. But The G310RR hits back with what seems like a more sophisticated suspension setup, those upside-down forks, the adjustable rear monocoque. That could offer superior handling and a more controlled ride overall, especially when you're pushing it or on rougher roads.
Better suspension often translates to a more planted, confident feel. True. How do they compare on looks and comfort?
Well, the Ninja 400 have a design that's maybe a bit more understated, perhaps more universally appealing to some. The G310RR's styling is definitely bolder, more aggressive, more overtly aerodynamic. It arguably looks more premium, more modern.
Okay, style preference again. Comfort.
Comfort-wise, the Ninja 400 generally offers a slightly more relaxed, upright riding position. Many beginners and commuters might find that a bit more comfortable for longer periods.
And price. Kawasaki usually does well there.
Yeah, the Ninja 400 often comes in at a more budget-friendly price point, makes
Hmm.
it a really attractive option if cost is a major factor.
So the Cowie often wins on value, maybe a bit more initial comfort for some. The BMW offers that premium feel, better tech, potentially better suspension. Considering all this, what really makes the BMW G310RR stand out from these key rivals? What's its unique selling point?
Well, if you tie it back to BMW's strategy, I think what truly sets it apart is, first, the brand prestige. Let's be honest, there's an aspirational quality to owning a BMW.
The badge factor.
Definitely. But beyond the badge, it's that comprehensive tech package, the TFT display, the Bluetooth, the riding modes, that really differentiates it in this entry-level space. So while it might not have the absolute highest horsepower like the KTM or Cowie,
Yeah.
it presents this really compelling balance of accessible performance, decent everyday comfort, and that premium tech-forward experience.
Okay, so it's positioned as more than just an entry-level bike. It's kind of an entry into the whole BMW ecosystem and its qualities. Right, let's try and boil it down now. What are the main pros and cons someone should weigh up if they're considering the BMW G310RR?
Okay, pros. The advanced technology features, definitely. Big draw. The premium build quality, it feels substantial. Smooth, predictable power delivery makes it approachable. The ergonomics strike a pretty good balance. Sporty, but not painful.
Mm-hmm.
The aggressive modern styling looks great. And that reliable braking system with standard ABS gives you confidence.
Those are some strong points. What about the downsides, the cons?
Well, the limited power compared to some key competitors is a definite factor if you're chasing pure performance.
All right.
The price tag is likely higher than, say, the Ninja 400, which could deter budget buyers.
Right.
Wind protection, while okay, isn't amazing for long highway stints. It's slightly heavier than some rivals, though not by much. And the lack of a slipper clutch is something more experienced riders might notice and miss.
Okay. Fair and balanced points to keep in mind. Now, let's quickly tackle some of those frequently asked questions that potential buyers always seem to have.
Sure thing. A
Okay.
very common one is top speed.
Oh.
Like we said, it's around 140 kilometers or roughly 87 miles per hour. Realistic for most roads.
And horsepower again, just to be clear.
34 horsepower at 9,700 RPM.
Is it suitable for beginners? That's always a big one.
Generally, yes. The manageable power, the lower weight compared to bigger bikes, the accessible seat height, all good for beginners. But that sporty riding position might take a little getting used to if you're totally new to sport bikes.
Okay, slight adjustment period maybe. What about ABS?
Yes, standard dual-channel ABS, big safety plus.
And the display, we've talked about it, but it's worth hammering home.
Yep, full-color TFT display, integrated Bluetooth, connects to the BMW app for navigation, calls, music. Very modern.
Comfort for long rides. Sum that up.
It's better than some more extreme sport bikes, thanks to the slightly more upright stance and that smooth engine. But limited wind protection might be a factor on really long, fast highway rides.
Got it. Fuel tank capacity.
12 liters. Gives you decent range.
And finally, that comparison again. How does it really stack up against the KTM RC390? Boiled down.
Okay, boiled down. KTM RC390 offers more raw power, has features like the slipper clutch and Supermoto ABS, leans towards pure performance. The BMW G310RR offers better tech integration, TFT, Bluetooth, arguably better everyday comfort, and that premium BMW build and brand appeal. It really comes down to what you prioritize as a rider.
Right, different philosophies. Okay, that covers a lot of the common questions. So to bring our deep dive to a close, what are the essential takeaways on the BMW G310RR?
I think, in summary, the BMW G310RR positions itself as a really premium contender in this entry-level supersport class. Its main strengths are that modern tech integration, its refined and accessible handling, and, the undeniable BMW build quality and brand prestige, even if it's not the absolute horsepower king.
So it's aiming for a more holistic experience, something beyond just the raw speed numbers.
Precisely. It seems designed to appeal to riders who value that mix of style, sophistication, advanced features, and just a really well-rounded riding experience right from their entry into the segment.
Definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
And considering that balanced technology, brand usability versus raw power and budget, it does raise an interesting question, doesn't it? What does the arrival of a bike like the BMW G310RR really tell us about what riders entering the sport bike world want now? Are we seeing maybe a shift towards valuing a more complete, more premium experience over just chasing the biggest performance numbers? It's certainly something to mull over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.